Hello friends, and welcome back to What's the Move. Today, I'll be doing my final episode from the World Championship series, this time once again featuring Tom 60229 as the player we'll be taking a look at, facing down Surrender in what was a very epic semifinal match between these two players. I highly recommend you check out this whole series. We can see Tom on his very standard Jade Druid list. We'll see lists just like this on the ladder, even after the nerfs which have happened since the World Championships. And we see Surrender on the Tempo Rogue, which we actually don't find on the ladder very much since the nerfs to Patches the Pirate and Corridor Creeper and Bone Mare. We can see that Surrender has played a Pirate already, but it did not pull out Patches, so Tom knows that Patches the Pirate is in Surrender's hand. Coming into Tom's turn 5, he's staring down a 3/3 and a 2/2 Pirate, and in his hand, he has the ability to play a Jasper Spellstone, a Nourish, a Ironwood Golem, or a Naked Arcane Tyrant, though it's pretty fair to assume that if he'd like to play that, he'd probably do it alongside with a Nourish. So, with that in mind, what's the move?
Moves quickly. I wonder.
The first part of Tom's turn here should come as absolutely no surprise to anyone who's played really any amount of Jade Druid on the ladder, or really even against any amount of Jade Druid on the ladder. He can ramp, and he does. He leads things off with the Nourish for +2 mana crystals. I just don't think that 5 points of pressure is really enough to scare Tom into trying to make a play like Ironwood Golem plus Jasper Spellstone to clear away the Swashbuckler. He can make better use of these resources, I think, in the future. A good rule of thumb for Druid decks that run ramp spells is when you can ramp, ramp. And that's exactly what he does. But the thing I really want to break down here is what he chooses to do with the rest of his turn. He goes Hero Power, Face, Pass. He leaves that Arcane Tyrant hanging in his hand. Why does he do that? I think the vast majority of us at home, myself included of course, would have just plopped down this Arcane Tyrant and been pretty happy to have ramped 2 mana crystals and gotten a 4/4 on the board in your turn 5. The 4/4 Arcane Tyrant would do a pretty good job of contesting this 3/3 and 2/2, and would likely force some amount of resources out of Surrender to trade for it on board, something like a Backstab, an SI7 agent, an attack from a minion, a Hero Power, etc. Tom is certainly interested in getting rid of Surrender's resources, and any amount of pressure that he can alleviate would go a long ways because, of course, Tom is the control player here, and he wants to be doing everything he can to survive to the late game so he can just take things over with cards like his Ultimate Infestation, which we can see in his hand. So, why does Tom hold on to the Arcane Tyrant? The answer lies within his hand. It is Spreading Plague. He's going to be able to cast Spreading Plague next turn, which will also be an activator for Arcane Tyrant. When he plays the Spreading Plague into the Arcane Tyrant, of course, the Arcane Tyrant is going to be protected by all of the 1/5 minions. It's going to be extremely unlikely that Surrender will be able to clear away all of the 1/5 Scarabs, which would give Tom the ability to dictate on his terms how he wants to trade with this Arcane Tyrant. If he just plops it down along with the Nourish, which would be, I think, a pretty good play if he didn't have the Spreading Plague in his hand, the action passes to Surrender, where he can make all of the most optimal choices for how he wants to handle the 4/4. But if Tom just waits 1 turn to hide this Arcane Tyrant behind a wall of Scarabs, then Tom will be the one that gets to make all of those choices as to how he wants to dictate the resources being traded, which will ultimately allow him to get much more value out of this Arcane Tyrant than if he had simply played it on his turn 5 along with the Nourish. I think that this brilliant sequence out of Tom does a really good job of showcasing why decisions in Hearthstone should never be made within a vacuum, or should never really be made on autopilot. It would be far too easy to look at Nourish into Arcane Tyrant as what people would deem to be a very positive or good tempo play, and it is, that's true. Playing that on most turn 5s would be a great way to get ahead in the game, get ahead in mana crystals, play to the board, etc. But making good plays is not how you win World Championships. It's not how you beat players like Surrender. It takes great ones like this, and a little bit of good luck doesn't hurt either. Starting next week, I'll return to accepting submissions from my viewers for episodes of What's the Move. Those could include plays from tournaments that have happened recently, or from your own ladder matches. So, if you have a move you'd like to see broken down by yours truly, feel free to shoot it over to me on Twitter at Aleco_P. See you guys next week.